In 1994, in a quiet Swiss village, police discovered a horrifying scene. Dozens of bodies, arranged in a star formation, charred beyond recognition.
Each victim wore ceremonial robes and a plastic bag over their head.
Our folks, gather around the digital campfire because today we're delving into a tale so wild.
It'll make your grandma's ghost stories.
Like bedtime lullabies.
We're talking about
The Order of the Solar Temple, a group that makes
those folks who wear tinfoil hats to block government mind control rays.
seem downright normal. Today we're diving headfirst into the Order of the Solar Temple, a group that blended New Age spirituality with apocalyptic fantasies. Before we start unpacking their cosmic baggage, let's make sure you haven't accidentally stumbled into the wrong dimension. If you're not already subscribed to the Cult Report podcast, where we unearth the most bizarre belief systems known to humankind, what are you even doing with your life? Do you enjoy missing out on all the juicy cult drama? The algorithms certainly hope so, but I think you're smarter than that. Tell the algorithm that you're officially a connoisseur of the strange and spooky.
Don't worry, we won't judge your thirst for the morbid and macabre. In fact, we encourage it. Just remember, folks, when it comes to belief systems, always wear your critical thinking helmets. You never know what kind of cosmic debris you might encounter out there.
Wise words. But before we start dodging cosmic debris, let's get back to the story at hand.
We're talking about the Order of the Solar Temple, a group that took the phrase burning with passion to a whole new level.
Yeah, seriously, these guys were obsessed with fire, like more obsessed than a moth at a rave. But we'll get to all that fiery goodness later first. Let's set the stage.
Yeah. What's really bizarre about the Order of the Solar Temple is that it wasn't some fringe group operating in the shadows. You know, they attracted hundreds of followers from all walks of life.
Really?
Including doctors, lawyers.
Whoa, hold on.
And even a few celebrities.
Celebrities?
Yeah.
Wait, were we talking A-list?
Yeah.
Or like D-list reality TV stars who are famous for being famous? Don't leave us hanging. Hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell because you won't want to miss this juicy tidbit.
Well, their names might not be dropping jaws today, but at the time, they were influential figures in their communities. But I think what's fascinating is how this group, with its bizarre blend of beliefs, managed to attract such a diverse following.
Okay, let's rewind a bit. You mentioned bizarre beliefs. Give us the SparkNotes version of what these Solar Temple folks actually believed in.
Okay, imagine a cosmic cocktail of Knights Templar mythology, Christian esotericism, New Age philosophies, and a hefty dose of apocalyptic anxieties. They believed they were reincarnated Knights Templar, destined to save the world from, wait for it, environmental disaster.
Environmental disaster. Seriously? Were they driving around in electric chariots protesting the use of fossil fuels in ancient Rome?
Well, not quite. Their vision of environmental apocalypse was more along the lines of like a fiery purification that would destroy the corrupt world and usher in a new golden age. And guess who was going to lead the chosen few to safety?
Oh, I know this one. Was it a mystical unicorn that farts rainbows? No, wait, I've got it. It was a talking chihuahua who claims to channel the spirit of Gandhi.
You're getting close. The masterminds behind this cosmic escape plan were two very different but equally intriguing characters. Luc Jouret, a charismatic speaker and alternative medicine enthusiast, and Joseph Di Mambro, a shadowy figure with a penchant for esoteric knowledge.
Ooh, a charismatic leader and a shadowy figure. Sounds like the dynamic duo of every cult ever.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
So let's meet the masterminds behind this cosmic circus act, shall we? First up, we got Joseph Di Mambro.
A former jeweler.
And wait for it.
A convicted fraudster.
You know, it's not exactly confidence-inspiring when your spiritual guru has a side hustle scamming people out of their jewels. This guy makes Bernie Madoff look like an amateur. He founded a whole bunch of groups before the Solar Temple, always cast himself as some sort of spiritual guru. But here's the kicker. Di Mambro actually convinced his followers that he was the reincarnation of an Egyptian pharaoh A&D, one of the 12 disciples. Talk about an overachiever.
Di Mambro's claims were, to put it mildly, audacious. He skillfully weaved together elements of various esoteric traditions, creating a narrative that was both alluring and, frankly, outlandish.
This guy makes your average used car salesman look like a saint. He was spinning tales of like cosmic real estate on Sirius, convincing people to empty their bank accounts for a front row seat to the apocalypse. Talk about a killer sales pitch.
Let's just say he had a bit of a flexible relationship with the truth. Before starting a cult, he dabbled in a few other ventures, mostly involving convincing people to give him money for things that didn't exist.
So, your typical entrepreneur then. Just kidding. But hey, maybe that's what gave him the confidence to launch a cult in the first place. You've got to admire the hustle, right?
Well, if your definition of hustle includes exploiting people's spiritual longings and convincing them to give up their worldly possessions, then sure, he was a hustler.
Hey, who needs a 401k when you're planning to transit to a new life on the Scar Sirius?
Right, retirement planning is so overrated when you have an apocalyptic escape plan.
And then we have Luc Jouret, the charismatic doctor who traded his stethoscope for a doomsday megaphone. This guy could probably convince you to sell your house and buy a bunker with a lifetime supply of ramen noodles.
He was the smooth-talking, charismatic face of the OTS. Think of him as the Steve Jobs of cults. Except instead of selling iPhones, he was selling tickets to a planet orbiting Sirius.
Together, Di Mambro and Jouret were like the dynamic duo of spiritual hucksters, blending pseudoscience, apocalyptic prophecies, and a whole lot of manipulation.
They were like the ultimate spiritual DIY project gone wrong.
And you know me, I love a good DIY disaster. But what were they actually selling? What kind of cosmic Kool-Aid were they serving up that made people give up their lives, their money, their earthly possessions to follow them?
Reincarnation was big on the menu, but with a twist. They believed they were reincarnated Knights Templar, not just in their past lives, in their future lives on, you guessed it, Sirius. Talk about setting the bar high for your next life.
Oh, come on. Like, who needs to conquer Jerusalem when you can conquer a whole new planet? It's all about upgrading, folks.
They were like the ultimate spiritual remixers, taking bits and pieces from different traditions and blending them into a cosmic smoothie of esoteric beliefs.
A cosmic smoothie. Okay, I'm officially thirsty. But tell me more about this spiritual mashup. What were some of the key ingredients in their cosmic cocktail?
One of their core beliefs was a form of esoteric Christianity, particularly their interpretation of the Knights Templar. They saw themselves as spiritual warriors, guardians of secret knowledge, fighting against the forces of darkness in a cosmic battle for the fate of humanity.
Okay, so far so good. I mean, I wouldn't sign up for it, but it's not totally bonkers yet. But where does the solar part come in? And what about all that apocalyptic stuff?
Well, like many New Age groups at the time, they were convinced that the world was on the brink of destruction. Pollution, war, social unrest, you name it. They saw it as a sign of the impending apocalypse, but they took it a step further, weaving in elements of solar cosmology and reincarnation. They believed that human souls were on a cosmic journey, evolving towards a higher state, with each reincarnation aiming for a kind of solar godhood.
Hold up, rewind, reaching godhood through the sun. Is this where they start building those giant sun-shaped mirrors I keep reading about?
We're getting there. What's important to understand is how these beliefs set them apart from other Neo-Templar groups, most focused on chivalric traditions or esoteric knowledge. The OTS combined those elements with New Age ideas, apocalyptic anxieties, and a yearning for spiritual escape from a doomed world. They weren't just interested in preserving ancient traditions, they were convinced they had the roadmap to a new cosmic reality.
Okay, so it's a cosmic escape plan with a side of Knights Templar and a dash of solar power. I'm starting to see how this could go wrong. But before we delve into the darker side of their cosmic journey, let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer creativity of it all. I mean, they weren't just sitting around meditating, they were crafting a whole new cosmic narrative, a story that blended history, mythology, and a healthy dose of futuristic fantasy.
Indeed. And that's what makes groups like the OTS so fascinating, so compelling. They tap into our innate desire for meaning, for a narrative that explains the world around us and offers hope for a better future, even if that future involves escaping to a star that's 8.6 light years away.
They were obsessed with Sirius, believed it held the key to their destiny, and even claimed it as their future home. They also had this whole transmigration thing, basically reincarnation on fast forward. They thought they could bypass the whole karmic cycle and achieve a higher state of being, kind of like skipping the line at Disneyland, but with fiery consequences. They basically believed they could cheat death and level up their souls by setting themselves on fire.
Don't worry, folks. Here at Cult Report Podcast, we provide all the cosmic absurdity without the risk of spontaneous combustion. Speaking of cosmic absurdity.
Let's talk about these cosmic marriages they arranged. Di Mambro would literally just break up couples and then reassign partners.
Whoa!
Based on these supposed past lives.
Well, it wasn't just about romance though. This shows how much control Di Mambro had over everyone in the group.
Wow.
He was calling the shots on everything in their lives.
Everything.
From who they married to how they spent their money.
You know, you'd think someone saying they're a spiritual leader, they wouldn't have to like resort to all that controlling stuff, right?
Yeah. Imagine being told you had to divorce your spouse and marry someone else, all because some self-proclaimed prophet had a vision.
Yeah, I'd be questioning my life choices at that point. And as if forced marriages weren't enough, they also practice sex magic.
Oh yeah, because when you're trying to reach a higher spiritual plane, the best way to do it is through ritualistic orgies. I'm not sure I follow the logic there.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Kidding. It's like they took everything they thought was cool about spirituality and just mashed it all together. Knights, Templar, aliens, sex magic. It's like a bad fantasy novel.
Speaking of fantasy, we can't forget about their elaborate rituals. They love to put on a show complete with special effects costumes and staged apparitions. They even had secret underground sanctuaries. They were basically cosplaying as a cult.
Wait, secret underground sanctuaries?
All this theatrics was designed to create a sense of awe and wonder. They wanted their followers to believe they were witnessing something truly extraordinary, something beyond human comprehension. In reality, it was just a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors and probably a lot of dry ice. But hey, I guess manipulation is just another way of saying cosmic guidance, right?
That's one way to put it.
And before anyone comes at us for being insensitive, we want to let you know that we are treating this whole topic with a ton of respect.
Oh yeah.
And a healthy dose of sarcasm. And hey, if you are digging this deep dive into all this cult craziness, make sure to give us a like and drop a comment. We promise we'll read them all. Even the ones that say that we're lizard people.
Oh yeah. But here's where things take a crispy turn. As internal conflicts started popping up and the outside world, started sniffing around, the apocalyptic dial got cranked up to 11. And that's where transit comes in. Ah, yes, transit, the OTS's express elevator to cosmic enlightenment. Just press the up button, hold on tight, and try not to mind the smell of burning roads. Right. Transit was their ticket out of here. They believed that by offering themselves up in a fiery sacrifice, they could bypass that whole messy reincarnation cycle and ascend to a higher plane of existence on Sirius. Basically, they thought they could, cheat death and evolution with a well-placed match. It's like the ultimate cosmic life hack. Skip all the boring steps and just teleport to the finish line. But hey, if you're planning your own cosmic shortcut, maybe skip the fire part, all right? We here at the Cult Report podcast prefer a more grounded approach to enlightenment, subscribing to our channel and hitting that notification bell. And sadly, their belief in transit wasn't just some abstract theory. Between 1994 and 1997, the OTS went on a, shall we say, cleansing spree, leaving a trail of tragedy across Switzerland, France, and Canada. 74 people died, including children. Some were found arranged in star formations, others in burned homes. It's a stark reminder that even the most outlandish beliefs can have real-world consequences. Yeah, those star formations are giving me major final boss battle vibes. Yeah. But sadly, this was no video game. Real people lost their lives because of these delusional beliefs. Speaking of delusional, did we mention those Ascended Masters yet? Yes, the Ascended Masters, the OTSs, personal hotline to the divine. These were supposedly enlightened beings who communicated through Di Mambro and Jouret, providing, guidance, instructions, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of cosmic gibberish. That's like having your own personal team of spiritual advisors, but instead of offering sound advice, they're telling you to set yourself on fire and move to a star system light years away. Talk about bad advice. Remember, folks, if you're ever looking for some, actual wisdom, skip the Cosmic Hotline and check out the Cult Report podcast instead. We might not have all the answers, but at least we won't tell you to light yourself on fire. So speaking of things going downhill faster than a Kardashian marriage, the 90s, they weren't too kind to our cosmic knights. Oh no. Apparently, Di Mambro's son, Eli, he decided to spill all the cosmic tea and expose some of those staged miracles of theirs. Turns out, those mystical events were more like smoke and mirrors than divine intervention. Talk about family drama, right? Can you imagine Thanksgiving dinner at the Di Mambro household? Pass the gravy, Dad. And hey, while you're at it, mind explaining how you faked that whole ascension to Sirius thing? Honestly, I'd take awkward family dinners and sibling rivalry over cosmic prophecies and ritual suicide any day.
But hey, that's just me.
Eli's revelations and all the increasing scrutiny from the outside world, it seems like it pushed Di Mambro and Jouret towards a more extreme and apocalyptic way of thinking. That idea of a transit to another world, which had always been part of what they believed, it started to sound a lot darker and more urgent.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty of their departure strategy, let's make sure you've got your backstage pass to the weirdest show in town. If you haven't already smashed that subscribe button and turned on notifications for the Cult Report podcast, you're missing out on all the juicy details, the behind-the-scenes drama, and the cosmic commentary that will make you question everything you thought you knew about reality.
Don't worry, we'll provide the existential crisis free of charge. It's all part of the package.
We're about to enter the twilight zone of the Order of the Solar Temple, where spiritual aspirations collide with a reality that's more American Horror Story than Eat, Pray, Love.
Things are about to get a little less love and light and a little more fire and brimstone.
Yeah, imagine being one of the followers and then you suddenly realize that your ticket to Sirius was actually like a one-way trip to a cosmic Jonestown. What a total bummer. And speaking of bummers, we gotta talk about the mass suicides and murders that happened between 1994 and 1997. 74 people dead, and some of them were kids.
Yeah, that's right, children.
It's enough to make even the biggest cynic out there question humanity.
It's really important to remember that people are still debating about how many of those deaths were actually voluntary.
Oh, really?
Many of the victims, they were shot or drugged.
Oh, wow.
Which makes you think that not everyone was okay with this final transit.
Yeah, I mean, when your cult's big finale involves a fiery transit to a distant star, things have gone seriously off the rails. I'm starting to think that calling this a cult might not even be strong enough.
What do you mean?
These guys were more like a cosmic death cult with some delusional grandeur mixed in.
It's really important to get that Di Mambro and Jouret's charisma played a huge role in the group's success.
The OTS had a pretty interesting recruitment strategy as well. It was all about exclusivity and gradual indoctrination. They had all these different levels of membership, like the Amenta Club and the Archedia Clubs. Think of it like a spiritual pyramid scheme.
Right, you start at the bottom, pay your dues, and work your way up the ranks, and at each level they reveal a little bit more of their secret knowledge. It was designed to make you feel like you were getting special access to something truly profound, which of course was mostly nonsense.
For some reason, the OTS had a major obsession with this star. They believed it was the source of all life, the home of ascended masters, and the ultimate destination for their souls. I guess heaven wasn't exclusive enough for them.
Well, pearly gates are so last century. The OTS wanted a more exclusive afterlife, one where they could wear fancy robes, hang out with other enlightened beings, and look down upon the rest of humanity stuck on boring old Earth.
Sounds like a real blast. They also believe in Agartha, this mythical underground realm where advanced beings supposedly lived. I guess they figured if Sirius wasn't their cup of tea, they could always move underground. Always good to have a backup plan, right?
Right, because who needs sunlight and fresh air when you have secret tunnels and ancient wisdom? But honestly, their beliefs were such a mishmash of ideas, it's hard to keep track of what they actually thought.
I'm starting to think they just made things up as they went along, like, hey, remember that book about aliens we read last week? Let's throw that in there too.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Before we start handing out fire extinguishers, let's get back to the OTS and their crazy climb up the cosmic ladder. Remember those Amenta clubs we mentioned? Well, those were just the first rung.
Once you proved your dedication to the cause and probably emptied your bank account in the process, you could level up to the Archedia clubs, the VIP lounge of spiritual enlightenment.
Ooh, exclusive. So what kind of perks did you get with a premium membership? Free chakra alignments, discounts on astral travel.
Think more along the lines of secret rituals, esoteric teachings, and the chance to rub shoulders with other cosmic elites. You know the kind of people who unironically use the phrase ascended masters in casual conversation?
Sounds like my kind of party. This is a multi-level marketing scheme for the soul, after all. There's got to be another level.
You're catching on. The creme de la creme, the inner sanctum, the holy grail of cosmic coolness, the International Chivalric Organization, this was the top tier, reserved for only the most dedicated and, let's be honest, wealthy followers.
So like a spiritual country club, complete with robes, secret handshakes, and maybe a few sacrificial lambs thrown in for good measure.
You're not far off. This was where things got really intense. Strict hierarchy, special initiations, and a whole lot of fire. But before we dive into that inferno, let's take a quick break to remind you lovely listeners to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Gotta appease those algorithm gods somehow.
It's like a digital offering to the internet overlords. May they spare us from the shadow ban and bestow upon us the sweet nectar of viral fame.
Right. Because nothing says successful podcast like 1 million followers and a trending hashtag.
And while you're at it, why not leave us a 5-star review? It's the digital equivalent of sending us a love letter, or maybe a flaming bag of dog poop.
Yeah.
It's the internet, so who knows what those crazy kids consider a compliment these days.
Right, but hey, as long as they're talking about us, we're happy. Good press, bad press, it's all just fuel for the algorithmic fire.
And speaking of fire, let's get back to the Order of the Solar Temple and their fiery fascination. Things are about to get heated, folks. Literally.
As with any good cult story, things eventually started to unravel. Cracks began to appear in the OTS's facade, and the truth behind their cosmic charade started to seep out like toxic waste from a poorly guarded nuclear facility.
Ooh, dramatic.
Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for this cosmic meltdown? Did someone forget to pay their Sirius timeshare fees?
It all started with Tony Dutoit, a former member who had a falling out with Di Mambro. Seems Tony had helped our esoteric mastermind fake some of his mystical visions, using special effects.
Like special effects, like smoke and mirrors?
Yeah.
Are you telling me this whole cosmic guru thing was just a big magic show?
Let's just say Di Mambro wasn't exactly channeling the divine. He was more of a master illusionist, using cheap tricks to wow his followers and solidify his power.
Kind of like a cosmic David Copperfield, but with less sparkly vests and more pronouncements of impending doom.
Exactly. But Tony, being the whistleblower that he was, decided to spill the cosmic beans.
Oh, snap. Betrayal in the astral realm. Not cool, Tony. Not cool.
Yeah, Di Mambro wasn't too thrilled about this whole truth-telling thing. In fact, you could say he took it rather personally.
As one does when their carefully constructed empire of cosmic lies starts crumbling faster than a vegan croissant.
To put it mildly, Di Mambro, fearing exposure and probably a hefty lawsuit or two, decided to take matters into his own hands.
Oh no, this can't be good. Did he send Tony a strongly worded email, a passive-aggressive tweet, a flaming bag of... Oh wait, we've already made that joke.
Let's just say he didn't offer Tony a free chakra alignment and a hug. Di Mambro ordered a ritualistic hit, to be precise.
Wait, a ritualistic hit? Like with chanting and incense? Did they at least use ethically sourced candles?
I'm afraid not. It was brutal. Tony, his wife Nikki, and their baby boy Emmanuel were found dead in their home in Quebec. The poor child was found stabbed multiple times, his body pinned to the floor with a wooden stake.
Oh my god, that's just pure evil. What kind of sick, twisted ideology could justify the killing of an innocent child?
It's a question that haunts us to this day. Was it a ritualistic sacrifice, a misguided attempt at mercy killing before the supposed apocalypse, or simply a cold-blooded act of power and control?
I don't even want to think about it, but we have to, because this isn't just some ancient history lesson, folks. This is a reminder that these kinds of dangerous ideologies still exist, lurking in the shadows, preying on the vulnerable. This is heavy stuff, folks.
Yeah.
If you're finding this all a bit much, we get it. Take a moment to breathe, grab a glass of water, or maybe hug a loved one. And remember, if you're looking for a community of people who get it, who understand the complexities of cults and the damage they can inflict, you've found your people right here at the Cult Report Podcast. We're in this together. So after the Dutoit family murder, things must have gotten really crazy.
The horrors of the Order of the Solar Temple didn't end in 1994. Their cosmic road trip continued, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake.
Oh man, there's more. I need a drink, or maybe a hug, or maybe both. But first, tell me what happened next. Where did their cosmic caravan of crazy take them?
Just hours after the Dutoit murders, fires erupted at multiple OTS properties in Switzerland. Not just your average house fires, mind you. We're talking coordinated ritualistic infernos.
Okay, now I'm officially creeped out. Was this their grand transit to Sirius? Did they all just spontaneously combust into a higher plane of existence?
Not quite, although they probably wished it was that simple. When the smoke cleared, investigators found the bodies of 53 people, arranged in strange patterns. Some shot, some drugged.
Back up a second. Arranged in patterns. Like what kind of patterns are we talking about? Were they spelling out cryptic messages with their bodies? Like, follow us to Sirius. Or maybe don't forget to like and subscribe.
Well, they weren't exactly creating a cosmic Instagram post, but they were found in these eerie, ritualistic formations. Some in circles, some in squares, some with plastic bags over their heads.
Plastic bags. Seriously, I'm not sure what's more disturbing, the fact that they believed they were going to be reborn on another planet, or the fact that they thought a plastic bag was a good way to get there.
And it doesn't end there. A year later, in 1995, another fire, this time in France. 16 more bodies again in a strange formation, victims drugged and shot.
Okay, hold up. This is getting too real. I need a moment to process this and maybe double check that my fire insurance is up to date. Also, can we take a moment to appreciate the irony of a cult obsessed with fire repeatedly setting themselves on fire? It's like cosmic slapstick comedy.
While you're pondering the absurdity of it all, why not share your thoughts in the comments below? We'd love to hear your theories, your insights, your witty observations. It's all part of the Cult Report podcast experience.
Right. Because nothing says engaged audience like a lively discussion about mass suicide and cosmic conspiracies. But seriously, folks, we want to hear from you. Tell us what you think if you dare. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You know the drill.
Right.
The algorithm overlords are constantly scheming to keep you from the good stuff, like stories about people who think they can teleport to stars.
Don't let them win.
Maybe we should start offering them virtual sacrifices, like digital goats or something.
Excellent idea. We'll add it to our marketing strategy. Subscribe to Cult Report Podcast and save a digital goat from the algorithmic flames.
Brilliant. It's like clickbait, but with a cosmic twist. Now where were we? Yes, more fire. In 1997, another fire in Quebec claimed the lives of 5 more people. A final, desperate attempt at a cosmic getaway gone terribly wrong.
You'd think after 2 major fire incidents they would have invested in some better fire safety protocols, but hey, maybe they thought their cosmic powers would protect them from the flames.
Yeah, that's probably it. They were probably all like, don't worry guys, we'll just transit out of here if things get too hot. Spoiler alert, it didn't work.
The Quebec fire is especially tragic because it involved 3 teenagers who were drugged by their parents but managed to escape the flames.
Teenagers. So it wasn't just rich, middle-aged folks getting sucked into this cosmic vortex. Kids were involved too. That's just heartbreaking.
Sadly, yes, children were involved too. And it's a chilling reminder that cults can prey on anyone regardless of age or background.
This whole story is like a cautionary tale written in flames. A reminder to question everything, especially when someone promises you a one-way ticket to paradise or Sirius.
Indeed. It's easy to mock the OTS's beliefs, but the tragedy of their downfall serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of blind faith and unchecked power. And hey, while we're on the topic of power, remember that you, our dear listeners, have the power to support Cult Report Podcast,
where we unravel the mysteries of human belief with a healthy dose of humor and skepticism. We're your weekly reminder of what the heck is wrong with people.
Just hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and tell your friends about us. It's the least you can do, considering we haven't asked you to surrender all your earthly possessions yet.
Don't tempt me. But seriously, folks, we appreciate your support. It helps keep the lights on and hopefully prevents any spontaneous combustion incidents in the studio.
Because, let's face it, sometimes the only way to deal with the absurdity of it all is to laugh. Otherwise, we'd all be huddled in a corner wearing tinfoil hats and muttering about alien overlords.
Speaking of alien overlords, that brings us to our next cosmic clue. Conspiracy theories. Because whenever there's a tragedy this bizarre, you can bet your bottom chakra that the internet is going to explode with wild theories, explanations, and accusations.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a cosmic game of connect the dots, except the dots are scattered across the universe and the players are armed with internet memes and a healthy dose of paranoia.
So what were some of the most popular theories floating around the interwebs? Did the OTS stumble onto some ancient alien secret? Were they pawns in a global Illuminati chess game? Did they discover the recipe for cosmic immortality and get silenced by the powers that be? Spill the cosmic tea.
Well, you had everything from political intrigue to secret societies to, yes, even alien intervention. Some theories linked the OTS to various scandals, suggesting that Jouret, with his charisma and connections, might have been involved in shady dealings with powerful figures. There were whispers of money laundering arms, trafficking, even connections to shadowy organizations like Gladio, a supposed NATO-backed secret army.
Hold on, rewind. Gladio. Secret armies. Okay, this just got real. Did anyone check under Di Mambro's couch cushions for a decoder ring?
Well, I doubt a decoder ring would unlock the mysteries of this case. Most of these theories, while entertaining, are based on speculation and circumstantial evidence. It's the classic case of correlation does not equal causation. Just because Di Mambro had a secret handshake with a guy who once worked for a government agency doesn't mean they were plotting to take over the world.
Or does it? Okay, I'm just messing with you. But seriously, it's easy to get caught up in the web of conspiracy theories. It's like a cosmic choose-your-own-adventure game where every click leads you further down the rabbit hole of paranoia and speculation.
And the internet is the ultimate enabler, providing an endless stream of information, misinformation, and disinformation. It's a breeding ground for confirmation bias, where people seek out information that reinforces their pre-existing beliefs, no matter how outlandish.
Right, it's like a cosmic echo chamber where everyone's shouting their own version of the truth and no one's actually listening. But let's be honest, even if we dismiss the more outlandish theories, there's still a lot about the OTS that remains unexplained. What motivated Di Mambro and Jouret? How did they manage to exert such control over their followers? Were they true believers or cynical manipulators?
Those are the million-dollar questions, and unfortunately we may never have definitive answers. Both Di Mambro and Jouret died in the Swiss fires, taking many of their secrets with them. It's like a cosmic whodunit with no satisfying resolution.
Talk about a cosmic cliffhanger.
Now, where were we? Ah, yes, the aftermath. The world was left reeling, trying to understand how a group of seemingly rational people could be driven to such extremes.
The media had a field day, of course. Headlines screamed about doomsday cults and alien conspiracies. You know what they say, any publicity is good publicity, right?
Wow.
Except maybe when you're like a cult that was responsible for 74 deaths.
Yeah, I don't think that applies there.
But hey, at least they made it into the headlines.
And the anti-cult movement gained momentum, with many pointing to the OTS as a prime example of the dangers of new religious movements. They were like, see? We told you these cults were dangerous.
Well, we don't know for sure what happened around all those deaths.
Yeah.
One thing is clear. Di Mambro and Jouret, they were experts at manipulating people. They got their followers to believe that dying wasn't the end at all, but instead, it was like a doorway to a higher existence up on Sirius. These guys could sell ice to Eskimos, or maybe Kool-Aid too.
Could those deaths have been prevented? Were there signs that people just ignored? Should we have better ways to protect people who are vulnerable to these charismatic leaders and these manipulative groups?
Yeah, it's like that old saying, see something, say something. But what if what you see is a bunch of people wearing robes and talking about spaceships? Do you call the cops? Or like the fashion police? It's a tough one. I bet the surviving members wish they could just beam themselves back to a time before all this madness began. Maybe rewind back to those Manta Club meetings when everything seemed so simple and exciting, before all the fire and mass suicides.
Some tried to distance themselves from the past, claiming they were just innocent dupes who had no idea what was really going on. Others clung even tighter to the OTS's ideology, claiming that the transits were simply a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding, like, oops, we accidentally set ourselves on fire. Silly us. Talk about denial.
It's all part of the post-cult recovery process, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely a story that makes you think. It reminds you that sometimes real life is crazier than any made-up story.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes people are just straight up crazy. But hey, if everyone was normal, life would be pretty boring, right?
I guess so.
So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the crazy world of the Order of the Solar Temple. We hope you had a blast listening, even if it got a little intense at times. Remember, stay curious, stay skeptical, and whatever you do, don't join a cult.
And you know the best way to avoid joining a cult.
What's that?
Start your own. Just kidding, mostly.
Okay, that's our cue to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in to Cult Report Podcast. We'll be back next week with another story that'll make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the world. Until then, stay safe, stay sane, and whatever you do, don't drink the Kool-Aid.